From homeless black man to millionaire, a story even Donald Trump and Elon Musk admire. The headline blared across every screen in Times Square like a thunderclap. From homeless black man to millionaire, a story even Donald Trump and Elon Musk admire. People stopped dead, eyes wide, jaws slack. Who was this man? How did he go from the cold, unforgiving streets of New York, sleeping under concrete bridges and begging for change, to the shiny boardrooms where billionaires whispered their secrets? The city's heart pounded in those moments, a mix of awe, suspicion, and something darker crawling beneath the surface. Maya's phone buzzed non-stop in her coat pocket as she hurried through the crunchy leaves blowing down Fifth Avenue. The sun dipped low behind the skyline, casting an orange glow that made the glass towers sparkle like fiery giants. But the beauty outside did nothing to calm the storm inside her chest. She could feel it. This wasn't just any story. This was the story. Maya's pulse ran hot, breath quick and shallow. Every step in the Taitina crowd rang in her ears like a drumbeat to something dangerous. Reporters shouted cuestiones at police. Bystanders gawked in disbelief. Y en San Querender Far, una mujer cayó. No way! How could he? Her mind reeled. She had followed this man's rise for years. He was a symbol, the chance for change, a beacon for people like her. Now, the walls were closing in, and the picture was shattering into fragments of greed and lies. Digging through her notes, she pulled out the tip she'd gotten just hours before. A message from an unknown source. Meet me tonight at the old pier. Come alone. You want the truth. The words glowed on her screen. An invitation wrapped in danger. Her hands trembled as she zipped her coat higher against the chilly air. The city roared around her, a living beast of rush and noise. But inside, she heard the deadly quiet of threats hanging close. She could feel eyes on her, shadowed figures slipping out of sight too fast. Her heart hammered against ribs like a prisoner fighting escape, throat tight with the weight of what she was about to choose. Each clue, each secret was a thread pulling her deeper into a high-stakes game played by people who would stop at nothing. Her phone chimed again. This time, a cryptic message appeared. Trust no one. Your enemies wear friendly faces. Maya froze. The glow of the screen lit up her face. The crease of anxiety, the flush of adrenaline flooding her veins. Who could she trust when lies coated every corner? When her next move might be her last? The old pier waited ahead, dark and silent except for the lapping water. A chill ran down her spine, not just from the cold, but from the weight of what was coming. Was this the moment she'd uncover the truth, or the moment everything fell apart? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content that's coming. And since you're here, drop a powerful like. That really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and let me know in the comments, what city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. The old pier loomed ahead, shadows stretching long and dark. The water lapped at its legs, a cold whisper that made her shiver. Maya stepped cautiously, each footfall echoing in the emptiness. No lights, no bustling crowds, just the open night and the weight of what lay ahead. She breathed in the salty air, a mix of dread and determination swirling in her gut. "Where are you?" she murmured, glancing around. The wind picked up, rattling loose bits of debris. She felt the tension in her shoulders, the way it tightened the muscles, readying for a storm. Then she saw him, a figure stepping from the shadows. A hood pulled low over his face hid all but the glint of his eyes. Maya's heart raced. Was this the informant? He gestured for her to come closer. "Are you alone?" he asked, his voice low and raspy. "Yes, I came as you said." She forced out the words, trying to sound steady, but every instinct screamed for her to run. "Good." He pulled down his hood. It was Aaron, the billionaire's youngest brother. "You can't trust anyone, not even your sources." Maya's breath hitched. "What do you mean?" "Everything you've heard about my brother, it's all a setup. I came to warn you." "Warn me? About what?" Her mind raced, heart pounding like it might burst. "They're framing him. They need a scapegoat, and you're in the crosshairs." Before she could process, there was a sudden noise, a shout, a rush of footsteps. Maya spun around. Suddenly, darkness exploded around them. Figures loomed from the shadows. Men in suits with grim faces. "Get down!" Aaron shouted, shoving Maya out of the way, just as a gunshot rang out. The sound was deafening, piercing the night's quiet. Chaos erupted. Maya hit the ground, her heart in her throat. She scrambled, feeling her pulse thrum in her ears. "Run!" Aaron roared, pulling her away as another shot zipped by. She felt the heat of fear, the raw panic, a tidal wave sweeping her under. They dashed for cover, ducking behind a crumbling wall as bullets whizzed past. Maya's thoughts whirled. Was Aaron truly there to help? Or was he part of the web of lies? Who could she trust now? "What's going on?" she screamed above the chaos, voice raw with fear. "Your story matters," Aaron shouted back, urgency etched into every line of his face. "But the truth is bigger than you know. My brother, he's not what you think. And they're willing to kill, to keep it hidden." A sound of wood splintering drew her gaze. They were closing in. She could see flashes of light as they moved, hunting them. "Maya," Aaron said, gripping her shoulders, "there's something inside the company vault. It could change everything. You need to find it." "What? Why?" Confusion twisted through her. "Because if you don't, all of this, none of it matters anymore." Tension gripped the air. The men's shadows moved closer, encroaching like predatory beasts. Reality twisted, her world suddenly darker than she could have imagined. "Maya!" Aaron's voice cut through the haze. "Trust me, but hurry!" As adrenaline surged, she felt the ground shift beneath her, the weight of revelation about to crash down. Just who was she dealing with? Was Aaron really her ally? Or was he leading her deeper into danger? And then an explosion lit up the night sky behind them. The pier shook. Fear seized her as the whole world tilted off its axis. She glanced back to see flames licking at the night. The piercing shrieks and blinding light throwing everything into chaos. Everything was changing, shifting in an impossible way. Run! Aaron shouted again, urgency screaming in his voice. But Maya stood frozen, heart pounding. What truth lay hidden? And what could it mean for her, or for the man everyone believed in? The answers hovered just out of reach. Darkness closed in. The game had only begun. Maya's heart raced as she approached the old pier, each step feeling heavier than the last. The air felt thick, pressing down on her. Shadows danced around her, flickering under the dying light. She squinted against the dimness, the rising tide whispering secrets she wasn't sure she wanted to hear. Then she saw him, a figure standing at the edge, half turned, silhouetted against the fading glow. It was Thomas, the billionaire whose rise from homelessness had captivated so many. His demeanor was calm, almost practiced, but something in his posture made her freeze. This was not the confident leader she had come to admire. "Thomas," she called, her voice catching in her throat. He turned, and in that moment, the weight of the world shifted. There was fear in his eyes, a glimmer of something raw and desperate. "Maya," he replied, and she noticed the tremor in his voice. "You came." "Of course I came." She stepped closer, searching his face for answers. "What's happening? They said you were arrested." Before she could finish, the sound of footsteps made her pulse jump. Two figures emerged from the shadows, moving with purpose. They were dressed in dark suits, expressions grim. Maya felt a chill run down her spine. The air turned electric. "Thomas!" The taller man stepped forward. "You have something that belongs to us." "What are you talking about?" Thomas's voice shook, his facade cracking. "I don't have anything of yours." Maya glanced between them, her mind racing. This couldn't be about business, not when everything on the line was collapsing around them. She sensed the tension thickening like the dark waters below them. Then, without warning, Thomas lunged. "You won't take me! I won't let you!" Violence erupted. The sound of a struggle cut through the air. A loud crash as Thomas collided with the other man, sending them both tumbling to the ground. Maya's breath caught in her throat. She didn't just witness a fight, she saw the battle for his life unfolding right in front of her. "Help!" she screamed, scrambling forward, adrenaline surging. But in an instant, everything changed. The other man pulled out a gun, aiming it at Thomas. Her heart stopped. "No!" "Wait!" Thomas shouted, his hands raised, eyes wide. In a heart-stopping moment, the gunman hesitated. "You think you can walk away from this?" he snarled. "You think you're untouchable?" Maya felt the air crackle with dread. "What's going on? Thomas, tell me!" And then, just like that, a shot rang out. A single, shocking bang that echoed across the pier. The scene slowed. Fear gripped her chest, a vice tightening as she stared in horror. But the shot hadn't hit Thomas. Instead, the man beside him crumpled to the ground. Silence followed, shocked, breathless. The world spun. Who had fired? "Run!" Thomas shouted, his eyes wide, pulling Maya away from the chaos. But there was no escaping the confusion, the cutting rush of betrayal that sliced through her thoughts. Who shot? What just happened? she gasped, panic bubbling up. Tension prickled the back of her neck, her instincts screaming. She looked back toward the unconscious figure on the ground. Blood pooled slowly, nightmarishly spreading across the wooden boards. Thomas gripped her wrist, his breath hot and urgent. "We have to get out of here, now!" But questions raced ahead of them, weaving into the darkness. Maya's mind spun with possibilities. Had Thomas really been the victim? Or was he deeper in this than she thought? As they fled the scene, one truth nagged at her. The sudden, striking realization that her once hero was entangled in a world where everything was a facade. Nothing was certain anymore. And as the mystery deepened, so did the dangers lurking just out of reach. Maya ran, heart pounding, as Thomas dragged her through the shadows. They kept low, moving stealthily past the flickering streetlights that dotted the empty streets. Grit crunched beneath their feet, a reminder of the danger lurking behind them. Her breath came in short bursts, a whirlwind of fear and questions pulsing in her mind. "Where do we go now?" she gasped, fighting to keep up. We can't just keep running." "Shh," Thomas hissed, eyes darting. He looked like a different man, lost and terrified. "We need to find somewhere safe. You need to understand." "Understand what?" she demanded, feeling the fire of anger flare within her. "What is happening, Thomas? You were framed? Or are you part of this mess?" "Both. Just don't panic, okay?" His tone softened, eyes pleading. "I need you to trust me." "But trust you for what?" The sharpness of her own voice surprised her. "I hardly know you." Their pace slowed as they reached an alley. A flickering neon sign illuminated the entrance to a run-down diner. "We can hide in there," he said, pulling her forward. As they entered, the smell of grease and burnt coffee hit them. The place was empty, shadows pooling in the corners. They slid into a booth, trying to catch their breaths while keeping watch for trouble. Maya looked at Thomas. His usually pristine dress shirt was wrinkled, eyes wide and frantic. Something felt off. The man she had respected and reported on now seemed like a frightened boy. "What were those men after?" she asked, folding her hands tightly in her lap. "What do they want?" He leaned in closer, voice barely above a whisper. "They're looking for something I found. Something that proves my innocence. It's hidden in the vault at Nexus Renewables. But they'll do anything to get it back." Nexus, the company he founded. Her mind raced. "What's in it, Thomas?" But before he could answer, a loud crash echoed from the front of the diner. The door swung open and a group of men burst in. They were the same suited figures from the pier, faces grim and determined. "Get down!" Thomas yanked her low. Panic rushed over her, the hairs on the back of her neck standing up. In that moment of chaos, a woman emerged from the shadows. Dressed casually, but commanding attention, she raised a hand, and the men halted. "Stop," she called, voice steady and strong. Maya gasped as recognition hit. This was Naomi, a powerful figure at the energy company. Someone known for her ruthless tactics. "Naomi?" Thomas's voice wavered, disbelief washing over his features. "What are you doing here?" "Saving you from yourself." Her voice sliced through the air like a knife. "You can't keep running, Thomas. You don't understand what's at risk." Maya exchanged a quick glance with Thomas. "What's going on?" she asked. "Are you working with them?" "No!" he shouted, desperation spilling from his words. "Naomi, I need to know what you're talking about. You don't have to do this! You think I'm part of whatever corruption? Don't you see? Naomi cut him off, stepping closer, intensity radiating from her. You're the very reason this was all set in motion. What? Maya felt a shiver of disbelief grip her. The tension, their breath suspended in time, thickened like fog. What do you mean? Before Naomi could reply, the door swung shut behind her, and suddenly, the world around them shifted. A loud bang reverberated through the diner. The walls shook. Thomas's eyes widened in horror as Maya turned to look. Explosions rocked the street outside, flames licking the night sky, screaming sirens echoing off the walls. This isn't just about you anymore, Naomi shouted as chaos erupted. But the impact of her words sank into Maya. A truth she hadn't expected hung in the air like smoke. Was this all a trap? Was Thomas really the victim, or was he part of something greater? The blast sent them sprawling. The diner's windows shattered, spraying glass across the floor. Maya's heart raced with a new fear. The reality she thought she understood was crumbling around her, and she didn't know who to believe anymore. "Get out!" Thomas shouted, regaining his footing. But as they rushed to the back exit, Maya turned back to Naomi, her mind spinning. What's the truth, Naomi? What does Thomas have that's so dangerous? The question hung in the air, unanswered. As they darted for freedom, everything they knew hung in a balance, and the only certainty was that the real fight was just beginning. Maya took a deep breath, stepping closer to the edge of the old pier. The water below was dark, restless. She could hear it splashing against the wooden planks, like whispers urging her to stay away. The message burned in her pocket, the threat lingering heavy. Then came the flash of a light. A figure emerged from the shadows, tall and menacing, with an unmistakable gait. It was him, the billionaire she idolized, the man who inspired millions. But this was not the confident leader she envisioned. His shirt was rumpled, eyes dull. The glint of handcuffs still marked his wrists, metal shining cruel in the moonlight. "Maya!" he called, desperation leaking through his cracked voice. "You shouldn't be here." "I need to know the truth," she shouted back, fueled by fear and curiosity. "What happened? How could you betray us?" He looked away, shame written all over his face. "Maya, Before he could finish, the sound of rushing footsteps echoed from behind. A group of men burst onto the pier, faces obscured by dark hoods. Heart racing, Maya took a step back. "Who are they?" she whispered, eyes wide. "This isn't what it seems," he insisted, glancing at the advancing figures. "You need to leave." But she couldn't move. A part of her was rooted there, wanting to understand the chaos unfolding before her. These men were bad news. She could feel the air change, thickening with a tension that threatened to snap. Suddenly, the lead figure stepped forward, pushing down the hood to reveal a familiar face. It was an old colleague of Maya's, someone she'd trusted implicitly. "You shouldn't have come, Maya," he sneered, eyes cold as steel. "You were better off not knowing." "What's going on?" Maya gasped, bewildered by betrayal. "Turn around, walk away now," the colleague warned, voice low and dangerous. "You have no idea what you're involved in." But the air shifted again. The billionaire's voice rose like a tempest. You're going to let her expose everything? You're just going to let her go? Shut up, the man shouted. You think you can play the hero? You're in deeper than she is? You have no idea of the game we're playing. Maya's heart dropped. Game? What game? With a swift movement, the colleague lunged at the billionaire, but Maya reacted. She grabbed their arms, shocked by the sudden violence igniting between them. They stumbled. Then it happened. A deafening bang shrilled through the air, making her scream. A gunshot? Maya's mind raced. Everything slowed. Shadows danced, panic pawing at her throat. The billionaire's eyes widened, surprise flickering before he fell forward, collapsing into the water with a splash. No, Maya screamed, lunging to the edge, reaching for him. The water swallowed him. And in that moment, everything shattered. The man before her, her friend, stood frozen, breath quickening. It was betrayal, draped in betrayal. "What did you do?" she shouted, voice cracking. "You shouldn't have come tonight," he said, the calmness chilling her. "You've crossed the wrong people. You've made a mistake." Her heart raced. The truth she sought was drowning in murky waters, buried beneath secrets she couldn't yet comprehend. With shaking hands, she fumbled for her phone, ready to call for help. But doubt surged through her like ice water. Who could she trust? What was real? As the city lights flickered behind her, illuminating the chaos, Maya realized she was now wading through a world where heroes could fall and friends could deceive. The last echo of the gunshot hung in the air, a haunting reminder that she was now part of a game far bigger than she could imagine. And the stakes? They could cost her everything. Maya stepped onto the pier, the wood creaking beneath her as the cold wind whipped through the empty space. The water glistened under the streetlights, dark and murky. But there was no one in sight. Her heart raced. With each tick of the clock, danger wrapped tighter around her mind. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows. Tall and cloaked in darkness, the man's silhouette flickered like a candle. Maya squinted, her breath shallow and measured. "Are you? Stop!" he shouted, voice gravelly. His hands shot up, holding something shiny. The moonlight caught it just right. A gun! Maya's pulse jumped, fear flooding her chest. Having followed the rise of the billionaire, she felt the biting brunt of betrayal. Was this the cost of truth? "Who sent you?" he hissed, eyes darting around like a caged animal. "You shouldn't be here." "Wait, I'm Maya, a reporter. I got a tip." Her voice trailed off as the man's gaze flickered. He looked familiar. It hit her like a punch. He was one of the executives at Nexus Renewables. The man behind the headlines, the money, and the meteoric rise. But his face twisted in anger, suspicion heating his features. "Your tip? You think just anyone can waltz in and uncover the truth? People die for less." He took a step forward, the gun trembling in his hand. A loud splash made Maya jump. Something, a dark shape, surfaced in the water, bobbing lazily. Panic twisted in her gut, and she caught the man's gaze dart to the sound. Then he whispered, "Get down." Before she could process anything, the gun went off, deafening in the silence. The shot hit the water, and the splash erupted like a fury of chaos. Screams erupted from nearby, eyes flashing in horror. From the water, a body was pulled, lifeless, limp. Maya's breath caught in her throat. It was one of the police officers who'd been in the crowd earlier. Her mind spun. Was this a setup? Did they expect all this to happen? Who is behind this? The man's expression faltered for a split second. No, it wasn't supposed to go like this, he muttered, the gun slipping from his grip and clattering to the ground. Maya felt something crack open inside her. The people she had looked up to were tearing apart. You need to leave. Now. But before she could react, a group of figures emerged from the shadows behind her. They moved like a pack, stalking closer with an intensity that chilled her to the core. Their faces were familiar. Photographs splashed across news sites. Notorious characters tied to the billionaire's past. Tonight's not just about your story, darling, one of them grinned, sharpening the edges of his smile. It's about everything he's built and how we plan to destroy it. Maya's heart raced again, an electric current of fear coursing through her. Those were no ordinary criminals. They were the dirty hands behind the headlines, the wolves hidden in sheep's clothing. She had unwittingly walked into a trap. The truth? It was deeper, darker, and heavier than she could ever comprehend. And in that moment, as the man beside her froze, grappling with what he was about to lose, Maya realized she had to make a choice. Flee or stand. But any clarity was shattered when the leader noticed her, pointed a finger, and smirked. Let's make it clearer for our little reporter. Chaos erupted. The cold bite of betrayal stung harder than the night air as Maya understood one terrible fact. Everything she thought she knew was a facade. What happened next would change them all forever. Was she ready to fight with everything she had? Or would she find herself ensnared in a web of lies that could cost her everything? The old pier loomed ahead, shrouded in shadows. Maya stepped cautiously, each footfall swallowed by the dark. The air felt thick, heavy with secrets whispered through the cracks of the weathered wood. She glanced around, her heart racing. Was someone watching? The towering buildings felt like giants looming over her, hiding their own truths. The appointment nagged at her mind. What truth could possibly be lurking here? Steeling herself, she pulled her coat tighter and quickened her pace. The wind howled, a mournful sound that seemed to echo her nerves. A twisted knot formed in her stomach. She was close, so close. Suddenly, a flash of movement caught her eye. A figure emerged from the shadows. Tall and cloaked in darkness, the mystery person shuffled toward her slowly. Maya blinked, trying to pierce the dimness, but the stranger remained indistinct, their face hidden beneath a hood. "Are you Maya?" the figure asked, voice low and gravelly. "Yes," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. She wanted to ask who they were, but the words choked in her throat. "Let's talk. I have something you need to hear." The figure stepped closer, and the pier creaked ominously beneath them. "Your billionaire? He's not who you think." Maya's heart sank. "What do you mean?" "He's been running a game this whole time. Corruption? That's just the tip of the iceberg." The figure leaned forward, lowering their voice. He's involved in something much bigger, something dangerous. Adrenaline surged through her. Each word came like a punch to the gut. What are you talking about? The corruption allegations? Are they true? Yes and no. There's a deeper scheme, a trade of information, connections. It goes all the way to the top. Your friend is not just a businessman. He's a pawn. Pawn? She echoed, her heart racing. She struggled to hold on to control. The figure paused, casting a quick glance over their shoulder, as if sensing eyes in the distance. You need to understand, he's in over his head. They will stop at nothing to keep him quiet. Who? Who wants to silence him? She felt jumpy, urgency suffocating her. People you don't want to mess with. Powerful players. I can't tell you everything here. Then, the figure lifted their hand and pulled down the hood. Maya gasped. Recognition hit her like a wall. It was someone she hadn't seen in years. Someone she thought was long gone. Just as she was about to speak, a loud bang echoed nearby, rattling her bones. The pier trembled underfoot. Get down! The figure shouted, pulling Maya to the ground just as a shadow darted past them. In the chaos, something sharp sliced through the air. A split second was all it took. A flash of metal, then a piercing scream. Not hers. Before she could blink, the figure lay sprawled beside her, blood pooling on the wooden slats. A paralyzing horror gripped her. No, no! She reached for them, but it was too late. Staring in disbelief, Maya felt cold fear settle like ice in her veins. Questions flooded her mind. What was happening? The air grew still as chaos reigned in the distance. Sirens wailed and shouts broke through the night. Whoever had attacked didn't seem far away. Was her story unraveling, or had it just begun? Trembling, she got to her feet, glancing wildly around. Should she run or stay? The truth was shrouded in blood, and it pulled her into a deeper darkness. Everything she thought she knew was slipping through her fingers, and now she was caught in the whirlwind of danger, searching for the light amid the shadows. Maya stood frozen, her heart a thunderous drum in her chest. The body lay still beside her, blood pooling slowly on the wooden slats. She felt a cold flood of dread wash over her, unsure of what to do next. The chaos around her seemed to swirl, the world pitching sideways. This wasn't just a story anymore. This was a nightmare. Why? She shouted, voice trembling as she turned to the figure who now stood with a gun pointed at her. Why did you do this? But then, something shifted in the air. A noise, heavy footsteps approaching from behind, hard and impatient. Her heart plummeted. They were here. They had found her. Run! The man shouted, but his voice was drowned out by chaos. The door burst open, slamming against the wall, sending a shock of fear racing through her. Maya dashed toward the back exit, adrenaline propelling her forward like a runner's high. But before she could reach it, she heard it, an explosive, resonant sound, a crack. A familiar face stepped into view, a sharp smile cutting through the dark. "Nice to see you again, Maya," he said, voice smooth like silk. "Did you miss me?" It was Mark, her editor, the man who had once championed her storytelling, now twisted into something sinister. Confusion tightened around her chest. "Mark, what are you doing here?" But he didn't answer. Instead, he stepped forward, unfurling a piece of paper. "You see," he continued, his tone dripping with mockery, "I had a hunch this little investigation of yours was getting too close to the truth, so I had to intervene." Her shoulders hitched with disbelief. "You set this up? All of it?" "Smart girl," he replied, his face gleaming with malicious satisfaction. "It's all about power, Maya, and a certain someone was getting a bit too popular for their own good." The pieces of the puzzle fell into place, slicing through her like a knife. She had trusted him, believed he had her back. "You orchestrated the frame-up? You're working with them?" Mark laughed, a dark, echoing sound. "Work with them? Sweetheart, I am them!" "And that billionaire you thought was a hero? He's just a pawn in a game I've played for years. My game." Maya's brain reeled. "You're lying!" He stepped closer, eyes narrowing. "Am I? You ever wonder why the story's always twisted? Why nothing ever added up? Because I control the narrative, darling." Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the front of the diner. The structure shook, sending vibrations rippling through the ground. Maya gasped, panic seizing her. "What's happening?" Mark smiled, wicked delight flashing across his features. "Oh, just a little backup. It's better to eliminate loose ends, you know." Before she could react, the diner exploded. Flames surged into the night sky, licking at the darkness, sending a shockwave that threw Maya backward. Her senses blurred, and she landed hard on the wooden floor, winded. The scent of smoke filled her lungs, choking her. She struggled to her feet, fear coursing through her. Shadows danced in front of her, and chaos erupted around her. Cries and shouts mixing in the air. Maya stumbled toward the door. "Thomas? Where's Thomas?" Panic flooded her thoughts. She could not have lost him. Not now. Not like this. Then she saw him, emerging from the smoke, his face ashen, anger swirling in his eyes. "Maya, we need to go! Now!" But Mark stepped forward, blocking their escape. "You think you can save him?" he sneered, raising his gun. "This isn't just a game anymore. This is war." In that moment, everything flipped. Trust shattered like glass. Relationships warped beyond recognition. The truth boiled down to betrayal, and Maya felt the walls closing in. "Run!" Thomas shouted, pulling her back into the darkness. But just as they turned, a figure stepped out from the flames. A woman in a sleek black coat, eyes fierce and determined. "Let them go, Mark," she ordered, voice steady. Maya's heart raced, recognizing her from the boardroom meetings. The very woman who had kept the dangerous secrets buried. "What are you doing?" Mark hissed, his composure slipping. "You're making a mistake." "No," she replied, the weight of authority behind her words. "You're the mistake. It's time for a reckoning." Everything tilted. Maya blinked, confusion swirling inside her as the woman locked eyes with Thomas. "You have what you need, but we need to move." Maya stood there, the ground still trembling beneath her. Who was this woman? What did she know? And suddenly, the true battle lines were drawn. With one last glance at Mark, doubt gnawed at Maya's insides. Had they all moved too far into the game to turn back? Time felt suspended, like a storm waiting to break. What was coming next? The answers hung heavy, just out of reach, and her heart raced with fear and determination. They were no longer just running from danger. They had stepped into a deadly game where the stakes were everything. Maya stood there, breathless, shockwaves coursing through her as she processed the shifting landscape around her. The air felt electric, tension hanging thick like smoke. Thomas faced Mark, eyes swirling with fury that flickered like the flames behind them. Could she trust him? Was he truly innocent in this tangled web? Before any of them could move, the woman, Naomi, spoke. "This ends now," she declared. "You don't get to decide who lives or dies anymore, Mark. It's time for a reckoning." Maya could barely comprehend it all, heart pounding in rhythm with the chaos brewing around her. Then, in an instant that felt like a lifetime, the door exploded inward, sending fragments of wood and glass flying. A man clad in tactical gear surged through, his presence commanding. "FBI! Everyone stay where you are!" The unexpected intrusion sent a ripple of shock through the room. Eyes darted in confusion, tension exploding into chaos. Maya's heart thumped louder, uncertainty consuming her. "Take them in, all of them," the agent barked, gesturing toward Thomas and Mark. Their faces twisted in disbelief. "What is happening?" Maya gasped, glancing from one to the other. But then, as the agents moved forward, ready to cuff Mark, a deep voice cut through the commotion. "Wait!" Everyone froze. It came from Naomi, her eyes alight with a sudden intensity mixed with dread. "You don't want to do this," she shouted, voice steady, authority radiating from her. Quick as a flash, she pulled something from her jacket, a small device. "Naomi, no!" Thomas yelled. But it was too late. She pressed a button, and suddenly the diner filled with the whir of machines. An explosion of light, blinding and all-encompassing, burst forth. Without warning, the walls shuddered with a resounding boom. Every surface crackled, the shockwave sending Maya sprawling. Time slowed. Everything shifted in a haze of color and noise. She tried to rise, but her vision blurred. Then, chaos erupted. Maya felt hands grasp her, pulling her away from the frenzy. "Stay close," it was Thomas, gripping her with a fierce intensity. But the air was thick with confusion. And then she heard it. A gasp. A pain-filled cry from Naomi, collapsing in the fray, crumpling like paper. The scene shifted, suddenly quiet. The agents froze inches from her, faces stunned as they pulled back. They hadn't anticipated this. Maya shot a glance at Naomi, struggling, gasping for breath. Panic gripped her hard. "What's happening?" But Naomi's eyes, filled with anguish, locked onto Maya's for a heartbeat, whispering loud enough to carry through the silence. She knew it was never about him. "I couldn't let them use me again." As her voice faded, an uproar of voices filled the air. "Get help!" someone shouted. "Quick, secure the perimeter!" Maya's heart raced as the fragments of the situation settled around her. There were secrets here, devastating truths clawing their way to the surface. Had she been caught in a conspiracy beyond anything she imagined? Thomas's grip tightened on her hand. "We need to get out of here," he urged, but his eyes reflected terror. Everything felt like it was crumbling. "Wait!" Maya cried, feeling the weight of everything pressing down on her. "Naomi, she knows something. We can't leave her." But as they glanced back, the agents had already surrounded her, shielding her from view. A thick blanket of uncertainty smothered Maya. The world swirled with confusion. Relationships twisted into knots, loyalties shattered like glass. Everything had morphed in an instant. Who was really the enemy? Who could she trust? Then a low rumble echoed in the distance, growing louder, building into a frenzy, drowning out her thoughts. Suddenly, out of the chaos, the sound of sirens pierced through the night air. Bright lights flashed outside, illuminating the diner, stark against the dark. Faces turned toward the entrance, panic setting in. What had they stumbled into? Just then, the ground shook and a vehicle exploded outside. The shockwave rattled the diner again, sending everything into a frenzy once more. Maya's breath hitched. This wasn't just a story anymore. It was a war. The truth was buried beneath layers of deceit and betrayal, and she didn't know if she'd ever uncover it. As they staggered toward the door, the sirens wailed louder, closing in. Reality hung at the edge of collapse, and the future felt utterly uncertain. What waited for them outside? Would anyone walk away unscathed? Each decision pushed them closer to a precipice, tighter than ever. This could be their final chance to escape. But the answers loomed just out of reach, jumbled in the smoke of chaos, leaving them to wonder what lay ahead. The sound of chaos hung in the air like a heavy fog. The diner's walls still trembled from the explosion, dust swirling around Maya and Thomas as they stumbled toward the exit. The harsh lights from outside burned against her eyes. "Go! Just move!" Thomas urged, grabbing her hand. The sirens blared like a chorus of harbingers, dragging reality painfully close. They pushed through the thick smoke, hearts pounding with fear and uncertainty. Maya barely registered the world around her as they dashed outside. Shadows danced, blending with the fiery wreckage behind her, the sound of shouting filling her ears. There were figures, agents, bystanders, chaos everywhere. "What about Naomi?" she shouted, panic leaking from her voice. But the time for questions was gone. "Let's find somewhere safe," Thomas yelled, pulling her away from the madness. She glanced back, her mind still racing with doubt. Had they lost everything? Friends? Safety? Trust? They ducked into a nearby alley, bodies moving faster than her thoughts. "We can't just leave her," Maya insisted, desperation gripping her. "Naomi made her choices. We need to focus on surviving," he replied, breath hot and ragged, but his words felt heavy, and she could hear the doubt creeping in. Then came the shout, a deep, authoritative voice that sliced through the tumult. "Get down, hands in the air." Instinct kicked in, and Maya pushed Thomas behind a dumpster, heart racing. The agents flooded the street, urgency in every movement. Chaos swirled, orders shouted, people gawked in confusion. Maya's mind whirled. Everyone was a potential threat. "This can't be happening," she whispered, trapped in a world that seemed to have no safe ground. With every heartbeat, she felt the weight of her choices. Was she a witness? A target? The answers eluded her, slipping through her fingers as the smoke cleared. "What now?" she asked, voice trembling. Thomas looked at her, eyes sharp and serious. "We expose what's truth. We can't let what happened drown in this. We reveal it all." "Together?" she asked, hope flickering in her chest. Together, he affirmed, determination igniting in his words. And in that instant, amidst the noise of sirens and chaos, they shared an understanding. But as they shifted to move, the world outside exploded into panic again. The sound of rapid footsteps smashed against the pavement. "This way!" someone shouted. They found themselves swept along, crowds morphing into currents of movement. Maya wanted to scream, but her voice was lost in the cacophony. A figure broke through the throng, a tall man, grim but familiar. It was Jack, her colleague, fiercely loyal, eyes wide with fear. "Maya! Thomas! You have to come with me!" Before they could respond, Jack grabbed their hands, pulling them into motion. "Trust me, there's a place we can go, away from this." The urgency in his voice tugged them along, and Maya stole glances back, feeling the grip of danger tightening around them. The pier, the diner, Naomi. Would it all vanish like illusions in the smoke? They dove into the depths of the streets, zigzagging through tight corners. Each turn held the promise of safety, but also the lingering shadow of their past. As they rushed forward, adrenaline pulled them into the unknown. Finally, they reached a hidden door lodged between two buildings. Jack flung it open, revealing a dim room filled with low chatter and nervous faces. Everyone turned to them with wide eyes. Relief washed over her. Inside, the atmosphere buzzed with possibilities. People spoke in hushed tones, discussing strategies, uncovering truths. It felt like a husk, a shell waiting to burst. "Welcome to the Resistance," Jack declared, voice cracking with pride. "It's time to take back the narrative." Maya's heart raced, courage pooling in her veins. They were among allies now, but the danger was far from over. She had crossed boundaries, unraveled secrets. What did that mean for the future? In that moment, a stillness enveloped them, a calm before the storm. Outside, sirens wailed, the distant roar of chaos blending into the night. They were ready to forge a new path with risks, but the stakes were higher than ever. And as Maya stood amidst newfound allies, a question loomed in her mind. Would the truth unite them, or tear them apart? But one thing was clear. They had each other, strength in numbers and a shared purpose. You have to subscribe now. Don't wait even a second longer. Smash that like button now to help the algorithm, and flood the comments with your thoughts. What do you think will happen next? Share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this ending. Your support means everything. Let's keep this community growing strong.